Welcome, everyone. I am Leroy Truth for Leroy Truth Investigations, and always record the police because through the transparency of recording them in the course of their daily duties, we can hold them accountable with the truth that these recordings reveal. Today, out of Australia, a 95-year-old tiny little woman, 5 foot 2 inches, 95 pounds, with severe dementia, was tased by despicable police. They feared for their lives. She was tased because she was holding some type of a knife. And turned out it was a serrated knife, glorified butter knife. And they came because they were called. Don't call the police for people in mental health distress, ladies and gentlemen. Police are hammers and everything is a nail. Because this woman didn't comply, and a police spokesperson said, "Oh, well, she wasn't listening to us. She wasn't obeying our commands." When a person is not in their right mind, and my mother recently died and she had severe Alzheimer's and dementia. When they are not in their right mind, there is no communicating in a regular way like you and I are communicating now. That requires the support of a mental health professional, not a man or woman trained to get people to comply or die. They tased this 95-year-old little frail woman who lived a wonderful life from what I've read. They tased her. She falls and she fractures her skull in multiple places. She has been severely, most likely mortally injured because the police feared for their lives. From a 95-pound, 5 foot 2, 95-year-old woman. She will probably die, according to her family. But the police are still justifying it. And guess what? All over the world, police love to lie. They love to justify every use of force, especially deadly use of force. And most of the times they get away with internal investigations, which they're doing now. We're internally investigating. No, that's not acceptable. And you know who I blame for internal investigations, at least in the United States? I blame me. I blame you. I blame all of us, we the people, because we allowed it to happen. Nowhere else can there be internal investigation when something major goes wrong within any type of company in the United States. But police who have an authorization to use deadly force to get us to comply or die, they get to internally investigate themselves. And most of the time they find themselves not guilty. And they get qualified immunity, even if they do. Continuing here. All over the world, police are allowed to get away with harassment, assault, and murder. And this is out of Australia. 95-year-old woman is in critical condition. And as I read, her family does not expect her to live. After police in Australia shocked her with a stun gun. What a despicably evil thing to do to any human being, especially this woman. She lived a wonderfully rich life. And what a sad, sad way to leave this world at the hands of evil, despicable police who feared for their lives. A 95-year-old woman is in critical condition after police in Australia shocked her with a stun gun, also known as a taser, as she approached them with a walking frame and a steak knife. She had a walker, you know, the walker, the metal things, and a steak knife, which was a glorified butter knife. It was rated end edge on it. And how fast could she have been going? Walker in one hand, shuffling around, this knife in the other. Maybe it was even on the walker. She was probably on the walker to steady herself. She probably couldn't do this. She couldn't do this with it. She was holding it perhaps with the walker as she's shuffling at the pace of a snail toward the police officers. Clare Nowland, who has dementia, was taken down by a senior constable, Peter Cotter. Thank God I wasn't a junior constable. What else could have happened even more egregious? At the time, she was approaching police, but it is fair to say at a slow pace. She had a walking frame, a walker, and she had a knife. Again, it had a serrated edge on it. And by the way, what you haven't heard yet is the police are refusing to release the body cam footage. As they have said, it is not in the public interest to do so. Not acceptable. We need those recordings. Now, this is Australia. They have different laws, and they're not quite as free as a lot of people think they are, but neither are we. Continuing. He added that an internal investigation had been launched. Internal. I trust that investigation. Into the incident Wednesday at the Yallambee Lodge nursing home in Cooma, a small town around 240 miles south of Sydney. After responding to a call about a patient having a knife in her possession, Cotter said Nowland was found in a small confined treatment room by two officers who arrived at the scene. Negotiations commenced for her to drop the knife. When a person is in mental distress, you never ever want to call the police. They are hammers. The police are hammers, and everything is a nail to them. If a person doesn't comply, even if they are not in the right mind, they will use their training, their methodologies, which is they will use any means necessary to get that person to comply to their commands. And this woman will most likely die because of it. She needed a mental health support to help her. And she wasn't in most likely endangering anyone's life, for God's sakes. Negotiations commenced for her to drop the knife. For whatever reasons, Claire did not do that, he added. I mean, I'm freaking beside myself here. That he would have the audacity to say that. For some reason, she wouldn't drop it. She's out of her freaking mind. She has severe dementia. This is not someone you can cogently communicate to like you and I are here. That guy should be tossed out and fired so quickly he doesn't know what hit him. And anyone who supports the police in this instant, get out of here. Get out of here. Continuing. He added that the senior constable activated his stun gun, which are widely known as tasers, after major manufacturer. I can't take it any further as to what was going through anyone's mind. She was out of her mind. She's got dementia. My mother just died and she had dementia, and she would sometimes get very angry. And she was the sweetest woman in the world, sweetest mother growing up. She got dementia. Sometimes she would get very angry. And in fact, you know what? When she was in a nursing home, she actually attempted to stab someone with a pen. And I was like, when I heard that, I actually started laughing, not because it was funny that someone got stabbed, but that was so outside my mother's personality. She didn't injure anyone because she was also very, very frail. Again, not that that's okay for someone to do, but thank God they didn't call the police on her. Otherwise, my mother would have been dead way before she had died. Instead, she was talked down by a mental health professional who calmed my mother down. That's what needed to happen here. The 5'2" woman who weighs 95 pounds fell to the ground and struck her head. And she had multiple skull fractures, by the way. Paramedics transferred Nowland to a nearby hospital where her head injury has rendered her bedridden. She remains in and out of consciousness. He added that she had left her bedroom and obtained the knife from the kitchen at Yallambee Lodge, a 93-room facility, which offers a range of accommodation and support options for those with higher care needs. Higher care needs. This is not mild dementia. This is severe dementia. And respite care for both individuals and couples. NBC has reached out to Yallambee Lodge for comment. Community advocate Andrew Thaler, who is assisting the family, said Friday that they were shocked, confused, angry, and hurt by the incident. There was nothing she could do with the knife. I bet all she could do was hurt herself. The police and the nurses are trained to treat people with dementia. If they can't do that, why is she there? Well, obviously they weren't trained. Or if they were trained, they chose not to use their training. Now, let's go to a video, actually, a news report from Australia, and find out more here.
A 95-year-old woman with dementia remains in a critical condition in hospital in the New South Wales town of Cooma after she was tasered by police. Police have launched an internal investigation with advocates calling for better training. Straight to our reporter Ariana Levy. Ari, good morning to you. Do we know the condition of the woman?
Good morning, Lisa. Well, we've been told the latest update is that 95-year-old great-grandmother Clare Nowland has remained in a critical condition overnight after she was taken to Cooma Base Hospital in the Snowy Mountains region following an incident that unfolded with police on Wednesday. Now, as you mentioned, Lisa, police have launched a critical investigation to piece together what...
This reminds me of my mother. And if they had done that to my mother, no comment.
Exactly happened on Wednesday that led to the tasering of a 95-year-old woman. Now, what we do know is that on Wednesday, staff from Yallambee Lodge, which is an aged care facility in Cooma, had called police following reports that they believed Miss Nowland had been carrying a knife. When police arrived, the incident that unfolded had led to Miss Nowland being tasered by police. She was then transported to Cooma Base Hospital, where she has remained in that critical condition. We have been told that her family have remained by her bedside, but at this current moment they're declining to comment any further on the incident. Now, Cooma is an incredibly tight-knit community in the Snowy Mountains regional area, and Miss Nowland is a well-known figure in that community. She had previously volunteered at a number of charity-run stores before she suffered dementia in her recent years. She even was documented on her 80th birthday skydiving over Canberra by the ABC nearly...
By the way, that's what you saw there. And she was skydiving on her 80th birthday. She was a vital, extraordinary woman from everything I've read.
15 years ago. Now, Miss Nowland has been a resident of Yallambee Lodge for nearly 5 years, and it is believed Yallambee Lodge is a facility that is run by the Snowy Monaro Regional Council. Now, they've since released a statement as well over the incident. They say that during this incredibly difficult time, they're providing support to family, residents, as well as anybody else that was involved, including staff during this difficult time, but have said that they will not be commenting any further, as it's still an active and open investigation. But Lisa, many questions do remain as to what exactly led up and how this incident unfolded that led to a 95-year-old great-grandmother being tasered by police.
Yeah, we'll be following this story throughout the morning. Ari, thank you.
And that's what they said there. And it is so incredibly disturbing, obviously. No one is safe from the police. They are, as a culture, the biggest terrorist organization that is sanctioned by most governments throughout the world. And this is a case in point, completely inexcusable. There was no reason that other means couldn't have been utilized to help this woman, to get her down from whatever mental crisis she was going through, without using what will end up being most likely deadly force. If you want to change this, I'm working with several senators and congressmen and congresswomen, and I am not in any political ideology. I am not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I actually came up with a new party informally called the Sensibilitarians. If it makes sense, we use it. It could have a Democrat idea, Republican ideas in there, progressive, liberal, conservative. Because no one party has all the answers. So I am no particular party. But we have a government, which is for the most part a two-party system. And a huge thing we can do is I am working with senators, congressmen, congresswomen to create actual police reform. One of the critical elements is they need your phone calls. And they utilize and take these phone calls seriously. You are not wasting your time to make these calls. Please call Senator Schumer, his office in Washington, D.C., and Senator Tim Scott. And the numbers are here. Call them now. Call them now. And ask for police reform. Be respectful, be polite, and be firm. Demand that they address police reform as the number one domestic issue of our time. It is a critical issue. It's not a few bad apples. Those calls matter. 2 weeks ago, I asked you to call Senator Schumer's office, Senator Tim Scott's. It was the fourth most called about issue. Out of the top 5 issues, the fourth most called about that week. And we're gonna get even bigger with that. And I also talked to Sean, Long Island Audits. Had a great conversation with him yesterday. And he supports actual police reform. And we all do these videos, and they're critical. We utilize these videos to show the politicians what the truth is. So thank you for Sean for everything you do, and all the other people, and San Joaquin Transparency, and James Freeman, and Accountability for All, and Here's the Deal, Brian, and East Coast Audits, and the list goes on, Press with Rancor. Every one of those are in the trenches every day, helping expose the criminality of the police and the police misconduct. We, the people, have the power to change it. They are our servants. We have ceded our leadership of that for years. We got lazy collectively. Well, the time has come. We are taking our power back and completely changing and restructuring policing in the United States of America. And lastly, again, please call immediately Senator Schumer, Senator Tim Scott. This is not whether you like them or you hate them. That's irrelevant. They are in positions of power, and when they receive thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of phone calls from we the people demanding police reform and demanding that they make it their number one domestic priority issue, it will get addressed, I guarantee you. And I'm committed to working with them and anyone that can help bring this about. So thank you for your support. Please like my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you. Please share my channel, and we'll get to reach out to even more people. Enjoy an amazing day, and stay tuned for my next video.